Okay, today I'm going to show you how to do an eye splice with synthetic rope. I'm just using a bit of synthetic rope. This is normally going to be your anchor rope. I normally use this for tying on my anchor chain to the anchor rope, and then your anchor is attached to that chain in boating. So for doing this, you can either do it with a synthetic rope or your natural fiber rope. Would pretty much be the same steps. So I start off with measuring out the size of the loop that I require. If you want to make it smaller or bigger, that's up to you. In this case, for demonstrational purposes, I am just going to do a medium-sized loop, making sure that I've got enough tag end to work with. At this point, I would just want to measure that out and put some electrical tape around the cord, and this will just stop the cord from unraveling further than that point. At this stage, I'm going to start by unraveling these 3 strands all the way. Making sure that they sit nice and natural, in natural position, and all their bends would still be in there. Right, so they're falling natural. With synthetic rope, what you want to do is just burn the ends, so that keeps it from fraying any further than that. If it's synthetic rope, then what you can do is just put a bit of electrical tape around the tips of those tag ends, and that will stop it from fraying back and makes it easier to work with. For demonstrational purposes, I'm also going to mark these strands just with a bit of electrical tape, so we know which ones we're using and it doesn't confuse us. Okay, so I have a white tag end on the left, a green one in the middle, and I just left the one on the right as standard. Coming back to our loop, I choose where exactly I want that loop to sit, and at that point I want to take the very top one and open that strand up. So in most tutorial videos, it tells you to put the middle strand in through that opening that you've created, and then go left strand over the top and right strand down below. But I find it much easier taking the left strand and putting this through that gap in the rope and then pulling it tight. This makes it a hell of a lot less confusing and much easier to actually do the splice. So once you've taken that left strand, you tuck it in, making sure that that curve in the rope sits nice and natural, snugged in there, and then I flip it over, and you want to take the next one down. So you've gone underneath this one, now you want to go in underneath the next one. So this one has been used, the next one down would be this one here, and you just want to open up that one, and then the middle one was the green, and we'll just tuck the green into that and twisting it, pulling it through so it sits nice and natural into that rope. So that's the first one in place, the second one in place, and now the most difficult one probably would be the last one. You want to weave this underneath the standing part of the rope, and not make sure you don't go underneath one of these tag ends. So it's very easy to actually tuck it underneath the tag end instead of the standing part of the rope. But we've used this one for the white, we've used the next one for the green. Now the last one on the standing part of the rope would be that one there, and you just want to open that one and then tuck the last one in to that, twisting it and making sure it sits nice and natural. and then snugging it up inside that rope. At this point you can just give all of them a little pull again, making sure they go in nicely and they sit nice and snug. And that is the most difficult part of this eye-splice completed, and you've got your first set of weaves also completed. So at this stage you want to double check if you've done it correctly, making sure that if you have a line, if you draw a line across this rope, they're all sitting parallel to that line. There's not one going up further and one going out down below. They're all sitting nice and parallel to that line. This way you know you've done it correctly. The next step would just be weaving these tag ends up the standing part of the rope until you get to the end. Now doing about 4 or 5 weaves would be more than sufficient with synthetic rope, and if you're using natural fiber rope, only 2 or 3 weaves would be more than enough. So I've started with the white one as my number 1, green number 2, and yellow number 3, and that's how we're going to continue up the standing part of the rope, just by going over the top of the next one and underneath the next one over. So over the top of that one, underneath the next one, opening up, sticking my white underneath that one and twisting it as I go in, just to make sure it sits nice and natural. The next one would be my green, so I want to go over, over and under, and again twisting it, making sure it sits nice and snug and falls in natural. Again, the last one, always the difficult one, is the last one, to be sure you're getting the right one. You're not going underneath one of the tag ends, which can be very easy to do. You see that one there is a tag end, and you don't want to go underneath that. So over the top of the one there, that one over there is the next one in the standing part of the rope, and you just tuck it in under that, twisting and turning it to get it to sit nice and natural. And you can roll it just to make sure it goes nicely into place. Now you can see how this splice is starting to form up the standing part of the rope. Now you want to continue until you get to the end, and I'll fast forward this video when I get to the end, and I'll show you how to finish this splice off. Right, so there we've come to the end of our splice, and as you can see, it sits in there nice and neat. Everything's weaved in and sitting natural. And you get to the end of this splice and you're happy with it. So in a situation where you're using natural fiber rope, what you could do is just tape off the ends with some electrical tape, or you can do a whipping knot just to keep those tag ends from pulling out. Or in the case of using synthetic rope, which is probably a bit easier, all you need to do is cut off these tag ends. I normally cut them off just about, leaving about a centimeter or so sticking out, and then I just melt down the tips and roll them in my fingers just to make sure they all binding in and they're standing, and that will give you a super strong connection. It won't ever come undone or slip or pull out, and that will hold your boat on the anchor pretty securely. If you've missed this video, then click on this link. And if you've missed that video, then click on that link. Click on the logo below to become part of my family.